Very good morning, all. Welcome to the HD-BOBP Dialogue on Development of Regional Marine Fisheries Research Platform for the Bay of Bengal. So, to start the program, I request Ambassador Renu Rajamani to kindly give his opening.
Good thing we need a podium. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Shri Jatindra Nath Swain, Secretary Fisheries, Dr. Balaji, Joint Secretary Fisheries, Ambassador Rudrendra Tandon joining us from the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi. He looks after SAARC and BIMSTEC divisions. Dr. Suvarna and Dr. Jena, who are here on the podium. Dr. Krishnan, who is our primary host. Distinguished representatives from 8 countries who are gathered here. I'm extremely happy to extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you to this important dialogue, which is happening in the beautiful city of Kochi, which is known as the Queen of the Arabian Sea. We are located on the Arabian Sea, but our purpose of meeting today is to discuss the Bay of Bengal region. And let me begin by introducing myself. I'm a senior advisor to the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, which is a co-organizer of this dialogue with the BOBP. I'm a former ambassador of India to the Netherlands. I've served as a diplomat for 34 years and retired from Government of India in 2020. I now also work with the state government of Kerala, where Cochin is located as an officer on special duty in charge of external cooperation. So speaking on behalf of HD, or Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, let me first say that HD considers itself as a private diplomacy organization. We come into this dialogue not from the fisheries perspective, but from the perspective of how governments can come together and work to prevent, resolve, and mitigate conflicts. HD has been doing a lot of important work in the South China Seas to prevent conflict between the major actors in South China Seas, particularly China, as well as all its neighbors. And similarly, HD felt it is important to start an initiative with regard to Bay of Bengal, bringing together representatives of all littoral countries and looking at the problems that affect the Bay of Bengal region. Problems both in terms of pollution, in terms of fisheries, in terms of the consequences of climate change, the impact upon the livelihoods of the fisherfolk, who are amongst the most underprivileged of communities in all our countries, but also in terms of how institutions and systems can be introduced into Bay of Bengal, which will contribute to our collective prosperity and to our collective security. So this is the perspective with which HD comes into this dialogue. HD was instrumental in organizing 2 Bay of Bengal maritime dialogues, which covered all these topics, which I mentioned over the last 2 years. Because of COVID, they were conducted online. The next dialogue is scheduled to be held in Colombo in May this year. And in the meantime, one of the important recommendations of the second dialogue was that there isn't adequate interaction and contact between the marine research institutions of the BIMSTEC region. All the institutions have greater connection with perhaps Western institutions rather than amongst themselves. And the Bay of Bengal presents a large number of opportunities as well as very serious challenges. We need to grasp the opportunities and use it to improve the situation, to improve the prosperity of the people of all our countries. At the same time, if we do not act fast enough to address the challenges, all of us will be in some kind of a crisis. So the recommendation from the second Bay of Bengal Maritime Dialogue was to try and bring all research institutions of the region together on a common platform. That is what is happening today. We are very happy that we have been able to achieve this, and we are very grateful for the collaboration of BOBP in this regard, as well as the active participation and support of all of you and the support of the Government of India. From this dialogue, what we would request you is to come up with your ideas, your suggestions on how in the long term we can create an institutional platform which can continue dialogue, which can look at the problems of the Bay of Bengal region, of the Bay of Bengal, and what are the solutions to address it? How can governments collaborate in doing so? This dialogue and whatever ensues is the convergence thus of three trends. One, the desire of HD to try and mitigate conflict, to prevent conflict, to bring countries together, to collaborate for the betterment of all of us. It is a result of BOBP's wonderful work which it has been doing over the years, and its desire to expand its horizons and to do more. And let me conclude with a brief mention of the Government of India. We have two very senior representatives here, Secretary Fisheries, as well as Ambassador Tandon, who will be addressing you. But we are delighted that the Government of India is also putting its weight behind BIMSTEC as an organization which represents the Bay of Bengal region. It is contributing significant resources to the development of cooperation amongst BIMSTEC countries, and it is very determined to put meat and substance into this collaboration. We hope through the discussions that arrive here, we can create long-term successful results which will help all of us address the challenges that lie in the Bay of Bengal region, and at the same time help us move towards what Prime Minister Modi described in the last BIMSTEC summit as converting the Bay of Bengal into a bridge of connectivity, a bridge of security, a bridge of prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will just give some overview about the program and then the very intent that we are assuming here. Very good morning to all, and then thanks so much for Secretary, Joint Secretary, and then all the dignitaries who have made it to be here, and the dignitaries who have come from different countries and then given a very solid participation. Actually, the whole importance of the marine fisheries, just to give a gist of the importance of the marine fisheries, particularly in the region of Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal region is a major contributor for the regional economy. An estimated USD 10 billion it contributes in terms of the revenue at the point of first sale, and in terms of the sale at the consumer plate, it is between USD 15 to 20 billion dollars like. And the revenue that is generated in this entire sector drives the kind of economy of a large number of coastal livelihood and then fisheries, people who are involved in the fisheries sector. And given the kind of importance the countries are according to the Blue Economy platform, where fisheries plays a significant role, there is a need for collaboration, cooperation, and then partnership in many different areas where fisheries is a central place. Like, and the kind of challenges that this region, the countries bordering the Bay of Bengal, they face, be it pollution, climate change, fisheries, overfishing, or whatever, like plastics and various different issues. Most of these issues are transboundary. So the solutions will not emerge unless there is active participation, collaboration, cooperation between the countries. Right? And when it comes to the methods of stock assessment, when it comes to methods of determining what is a fisheries potential, every country has a different methodology. And the methodology at the national level keeps evolving, changing over a period of time. So because of having such diversity in terms of methodology for the estimation of the potential, the status of the fishery, if we want to determine what is the overall potential of Bay of Bengal, it is not the simple summation of all the countries' resources put together. And if you want to have a status of the fishery, it is not the summation or the average of the data that we have from different countries. So this is where, if at all we want to manage the resources, which are largely transboundary, there is an urgent need to have cooperation among the researchers who can work on unified or at least moderator or a common method that can be working for this. Like, so it is in this regard, we know like FAO has a kind of ocean regions are divided into particular areas, and then the stocks are assessed, but that does not directly translate into actionable recommendation for the countries to work. So this is where actually regions have a significant role to play. And the kind of again, if you just say like what is the extent of collaboration that's existing, the cooperations happen, partnerships happen at the individual level, of course, among the scientists and the researchers, and there could be interaction and then collaboration between the institutions. When we say institutions, that would be academic institutions which are having much open, liberal kind of a possibility of collaboration, and then cooperation and collaboration between the national research agencies. Like so, in all the areas, there is a need for active partnership. And if you see the kind of existing type of cooperation that's happening, largely the countries, the cooperation is south and north. There is very less cooperation between the countries in the south. Like, say, for example, if you take inland fisheries, Bangladesh and India, globally, they have a significant share. But India's best collaborator in inland fisheries is not Bangladesh. Neither Bangladesh's best collaborator for inland fisheries is India. Like, so is the case of 99% of the Hilsa fishery comes from Bangladesh and India. But we are not the top collaborators in the world. Like, still our collaboration is with the countries who do not share the same resources. Like. So I'm just giving a few examples for just pondering. Like. And this untapped learning in our neighborhood that could have helped us from avoiding duplication and expanding the scope of research is still a large area that we should be working on. And once we start collaborating, who have the shared resources, probably the relevance and utility of the outcome that we bring out of the research will be significant. So in this context, the objective of this dialogue is to appreciate the transboundary nature of the fisheries in Bay of Bengal region, assess the current status of collaboration among the Bay of Bengal littoral countries, and develop a roadmap for future regional cooperation on the marine scientific research. And give the composition of the participation here. We have participants from 8 countries, all the Bay of Bengal countries. They comprise of research institutions, both academic and then the national labs. We have policymakers from different countries, and regional fishery bodies, like we have a representative from CIFDEC, of course BOBP is there, and think tanks who are working in fisheries from all the countries are here. And we have also former diplomats and then individual experts who are specialists in fisheries. So this is a great opportunity to initiate a stakeholder-driven dialogue on the sustainable management of the Bay of Bengal region fisheries, and to explore the potential for developing partnerships in the South-South cooperation. The entire goal is to strengthen the communication and cooperation across the various actors in the region and march towards coordinated management of the regional fisheries based on shared evidence and knowledge. Thank you so much. Now I request Dr. J.K. Jena, DDG Fisheries, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, for his remarks.
Good morning, one and all. Most respected dignitaries present on the dais, Shri Jatindra Nath Swain, Honorable Secretary of Department of Fisheries, Government of India, Dr. Subarna, the NFDB, Dr. Balaji, Joint Secretary Marine Fisheries, Government of India, Dr. Rajamani, Dr. Krishnan. I find galaxy of experts from India and overseas representing all RIM countries as well as from different international organizations. Again, greetings to each one of you. My job has become easy after Dr. Krishnan gave a brief overview for which we are sitting here. Maybe we'll be deliberating for a whole day. All of us know at this point of time the objective and mandate of each country, any one of the RIM countries. We like to see that our whatever marine fisheries sustain the people who depends on the marine fisheries residing on the coast of the sea. They get livelihood options from the sea. That is the main objective of all countries, irrespective of whatever we say. Of course, at present we have been talking of industries coming in for deep sea fishing, the unexploited resources, whether it is the mixed feed fisheries or maybe whatever we say, or the resources, as we know that major pelagic resources which are remaining maybe less more than 200-meter depth to 2-kilometer depth, where which one we are not able to exploit. Can we join hands and exploit, as has been told by Krishnan? We know the challenges and issues before us. Issues are so many because the fisheries what we have in this region, they don't need passport or visa to the country has to say that you come or we like to go to your country. No, they don't need. So we need to have a, there is no other option. But when you look for want to have a cooperation, we need to see the modus operandi. How do you do it? Whether it is between, we know that it is necessary to have cooperation, collaboration. Otherwise, today that nobody can sustain, nobody can say I am the best, I am the most powerful. No, even we have scope to learn from the small countries, scope to learn from the small organization, actually a small group of scientists. And there is all the time scope to learn. Even the symposium, what we were witnessing since yesterday, even the experience shared by some of the countries, unique, we can, whether we can translate those or not, we need to see. For example, when we, I am sure when we split into groups, we will be deliberating on those. When we are talking of again networking, what sort of network we are looking for? Is it a physical network or a virtual network? Today, everybody talks after COVID, everybody start talking of virtual. So is it a, or do we need to have an office somewhere, some country, or no need? It can virtually work. For example, even the big networks like G20, for example, we can consider as a network also without having an office in any of the specific country. Still, it is working so nice. But for example, network, we have, all of you know, we have a network, NACA, Network of Aquaculture Center in Asia Pacific, with headquarters at Bangkok, and 18 member countries. Since last 30 years, it is functioning. But we need to see also when we need to have an intergovernmental organization or intergovernmental network, how do we see that whether if we look at the NACA being a member of the governing body, at least last 7 years, I know the issues we are facing. The government funding 30 years back, each of the government had committed that, okay, every year we'll give $60,000, $30,000, $10,000. But since last 30 years, we have not been able to increase a single pie. So the, the donation which used to come from earlier years has reduced drastically over the years. Because resource is important. Whatever we say, intent is important. Yes, intent is important. At the same time, the resource is also equally important. Or do we need to have intergovernmental like NACA, or we like to have a network like APARI? That is also a network functioning. All of you know, we had Bangkok again, Asia Pacific Association of Agriculture Research Institute, which is, we are also talking about research. We are linked with research, maybe similar to that of APARI. Even at this point of time, as I understand, they have more than representatives from 35 countries of Asia Pacific region, and more than 75 organizations are involved in this APARI platform. But again, we need to also see what is the advantage we have been able to derive. Probably, I do not know. If you ask me, I do not know. Probably we need to see them, look them, because when some of the organizations already exist, from outside, when we see organizations, we go to some institute for half an hour, we see all good things. But when we stay there for a month, 2 months, then we know the every internal things also. So probably it is right time for us, when we are looking for such a network, we need to study little more the pros and cons, the advantage and disadvantage of all those organizations. But definitely, I don't deny that whether it is a necessity or not necessity. At this present time, it is the utmost necessity, no doubt about it. The challenges, what you told the petitioner, whether it is climate change impact. We have seen how climate change impact has adversely affected on distribution, abundance, migration pattern of the fishes. So this will be more again acute in coming days with the increase of temperature, sea surface temperature, and so forth. The problem of IU fishing, each of us have been speaking. Each one of us have been speaking the issues, challenges before us, but none of us are able to tackle, probably. So how do you do that? And sustainability, all of us have been speaking. Responsible fisheries, we have been speaking about over years. These are not the words we have been talking today. FAO has been speaking on responsible fishing over years. How much we have been successful on those counts, probably it is the high time for us to look at. The challenges before all of us with the overexploitation today, as yesterday I was also mentioning, how do we ensure when we talk of this region, because our fisheries is totally different from Scandinavian countries or other places where you have temperate waters. They have only a few number of species wherever whereas we are working with the fisheries with multi-species fisheries. In that context, our challenges are much more than they have at this point of time. But all the time there is a scope to learn from others. I'm sure the conceived network definitely will work. All of us will deliberate whole days and come out with some conclusion that positive. That is what we expect. That something concrete will come. Modus operandi and who will lead, that has to be definitely there. And it is not that today we have said and everything will finalize today. Maybe the process of discussion process will continue. That is what, but when we have people from all countries and none other than the Secretary of Government of India, who is at the helm of affairs steering, I think we should be able to take a decision. That is what we envisage. Whatever modus operandi, I am though resource is constrained, but I feel today resource also is available everywhere. So it is not a constraint. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Ambassador Rudrendra Tandon, IFS Additional Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Actually, he was to join us in person due to current engagements. He opted to join us online. Floor is yours, sir, please.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me properly.
Fine, sir. Please go ahead.
So Dr. Krishnan, Director BOBP, the principal host for this event, Ambassador Venu Rajamani from the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, Shri Jatindra Nath Swain, Secretary Fisheries, Government of India, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, my sincere apologies for not being present in person, even though as India's national focal point for BIMSTEC matters, I have a particular interest in your deliberations of today. Distinguished guests, I wish to use this occasion to speak to you about BIMSTEC as the regional organization of the Bay of Bengal. And I also hope to explain to you very briefly why I have a particular interest in your deliberations of today. As some of you may already know, BIMSTEC began in 1997 as a mere grouping of countries littoral to or dependent upon the Bay of Bengal who wish to collaborate on economic and development matters in the expectation that this cooperation will facilitate their own national development efforts. Since 2014, however, this grouping of countries has been making rapid strides to transform itself into a regional organization of the Bay of Bengal. At the last BIMSTEC summit in Sri Lanka in 2022, BIMSTEC leaders signed and adopted the BIMSTEC Charter. With that, we marked the end of our transformation into a regional organization. BIMSTEC now has a permanent secretariat in Dhaka with a dedicated staff headed by a Secretary General. It has an independent international legal personality with its own emblem and its own flag, with a mandate from member states to interact with other regional organizations and international partners. The Charter stipulates a series of institutionalized dialogue mechanisms, starting with a dialogue at the summit level, which takes place once in every 2 years, followed by annual meetings of foreign ministers, sectoral ministers, and biannual meetings at the senior official levels and national focal point level like myself. The Charter lays down very clearly the purposes for which this regional organization has been set up, which is to further economic and development cooperation in the region with a special focus on activities that help in poverty eradication, in boosting connectivity in the region, and in enhancing trade and investment in the region. The short point, ladies and gentlemen, is that BIMSTEC as a regional organization is up and running and provides us a ready platform for undertaking action at the regional level. BIMSTEC member states are currently in search of concrete implementable activities that can be undertaken at a regional level. And that brings me today to the deliberations that you're going to have today. Given that the focus of this organization is the Bay of Bengal, member states have become acutely aware of the fact that we are dealing essentially with a maritime domain and face all the attendant scientific and managerial challenges that go with a maritime domain. The SDG 14 targets adopted under Agenda 2030 action plan does provide us a ready-made agenda to be pursued at the BIMSTEC level, along with some supplementary activities like ensuring safety of navigation, tackling non-traditional security threats, which member states have determined are essential to create an enabling environment for successful economic and development cooperation. But experience has also taught us that merely establishing targets is not good enough, and the challenge lies in attaining them. One of the constraints India identified in designing proper cooperation activities in and around the Bay of Bengal is the lack of adequate scientific knowledge about the Bay of Bengal maritime domain that will help policymakers design proper policies. It was with the idea of enhancing the body of scientific knowledge and data that will be made available to policymakers that at the last BIMSTEC summit in Sri Lanka, Prime Minister Modi announced India's intention to support networking activities between scientific institutions dealing with maritime domain-related issues, in the expectation that this will help rapidly develop a body of scientific knowledge that then can be used by policymakers. I am delighted that you are devoting a session of your event, today's program, to identifying ways in which networking activities between scientific institutions can be promoted. Having dealt with this issue for some months, let me warn you in advance that there are several financial and administrative challenges that one faces while trying to design functional arrangements that will help promote collaborations between institutions. My advice is to formulate proposals that are simple, modest, and not too expensive to begin with. Schemes involving exchange of faculty or joint research are far easier to implement and finance than more elaborate schemes like student exchanges, which are more expensive, take longer to implement, and sometimes can be quite complicated when you're designing arrangements for transfer of academic credits and other such matters. India will be moving ahead shortly in announcing this scheme that will support networking activities amongst institutions dealing with marine scientific domains. I therefore look forward to the deliberations that you will have today and to see whether there are some practical inputs that can go into this scheme that we will be announcing. With that, I wish to conclude this online address and once again apologize for not being there in person. I thank you once again, BOBP and Center for Humanitarian Dialogue and other organizers for this invitation, and thank you for the opportunity to be heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Salak. And as you rightly emphasize, like the whole objective of this meeting is to not to create a new institutional framework, rather to achieve the objectives and then the long-term goals of the existing institutions through operable and then implementable plans. And further, as you said, like there are opportunities and then programs with the various already existing structures and the institutional mechanisms wherein there could be funds and flows wherein collaborative research could be undertaken. Like, and the kind of cue that you have given, like Government of India is going to plan for some mechanism wherein there will be opportunities for collaboration among the institutions and then the research for the Bay of Bengal rim countries. Bay of Bengal program IGO, being a kind of an established organization, will be happy to be associated in any possible way that could benefit the collaboration among the countries in this region. Thank you so much, Salak. Now I request Shri Jatindra Nath Swain, Secretary Fisheries, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. Please for us.
Thank you, Dr. Krishnan. Ambassador Venu Rajamani, I have the privilege of knowing much before when he worked as President to His Excellency, Secretary to the His Excellency, the President of India. Ambassador Tandon, who is now Additional Secretary BIMSTEC, my colleagues, Suvarna, Mr. Balaji, DDG Dr. Jena, and senior researchers and scientists from all the countries straddling the Bay of Bengal, and officers, a very good morning to all of you. I'll be very brief in my address, just setting the context for what we are going to do. The data says that the Bay of Bengal region has about 21% of the global seafood production, quite big. And also the data says that it is the largest number of small-scale fishes. Together, all the countries in the Bay of Bengal, we are a very densely populated area. We are basically rice flats with fish. This is our capital. So, it is a advantage to us that we have a large amount of marine wealth which is available. At the same time, we also have to ensure that this large number of small-scale fishes who depend on the Bay of Bengal for livelihood have to survive. It is not only humanitarian problem, but also a major political challenge for all the countries, including India. And we have to ensure that these people remain in business, they remain in profession, they remain in livelihood, and they flourish. Unfortunately, what is happening is the oceans are fairly unregulated. There is each individual country has its exclusive rights over the 200 nautical mile EEZ. Everybody has, almost all the countries have their own regulation. Beyond that, IOTC has some amount of regulation that is only for 16 species, rest of this is quite uncontrolled. So what happens is the problem of common. It is a common resource, so nobody is a resource. Take whatever you want. What will happen after some time? Everybody knows about the problem of common. The common resource will start dwindling unless set rules are there. And how do you set rules? Only when we start knowing what is inside there, what are the resources available, how do we manage the resources? Once we know what are the resources available, only then we'll try to find out commonly, jointly, how do we manage these resources. Unless, I again want to reiterate, unless we manage these resources jointly, intelligently, and wisely, the livelihood of the millions of small-scale fishers who started the Bay of Bengal at various points in all the countries who are situated on the rim of Bay of Bengal will have serious problems in the times to come. So that is why this particular workshop has been organized, networking meeting, so that we let us find out what we can do. We need to, so first of all, to address the problem, we need to know what are the dimensions of the problem, and that is why each country, that is why we want some amount of networking. Each country has its own way of finding out what does Bay of Bengal, we can call it a mother Bay of Bengal because it gives livelihood to so many of us, contains. If we have pool our knowledge, pool our resources, pool our talent, probably we'll arrive at a much better outcome than what we are doing individually. So now the point is, the challenges which we will be discussing, all of us will be discussing, what kind of arrangement we make for this networking platform. What can be the organization? It will be a formal organization, it will be an informal organization, it can be a matrix organization. That is something we will decide. Second, where do the respective national governments pitch in? Because every effort requires resources, basically money. So how does, and also some kind of enabling things like the country is giving priority within their national laws to this kind of networking work. And the third will be, what is the financial arrangement? These are the three topics will be discussed in detail. As per the scheme of the this program is there, each country will make a presentation regarding what kind of research they are doing, what are the institutes available, what are the resources available, and what they need to do or what they expect the others to do. So this discussion will continue. We expect to find some kind of at least the first level of consensus towards the end in the concluding session, where we will try to group together findings and try to find a way ahead. Ambassador Rajamani has already given the issues that are there. Ambassador Tandon has already said there is already an organization, BIMSTEC, under which probably we can proceed. And he has also given some very practical suggestions, like how to start it small, and then try to make it bigger. There was also a case for creating an RFM. We all know that the Bay of Bengal, the high seas in the Bay of Bengal outside the EAS of the respective country is fairly unregulated. Whether you can think of that, that's a long call, long haul. But yes, if the idea is germinated at some point of time, we will find some way around, like how to give a shape to this. With this, I wish this discussion grand success, and we expect that some good outcomes and applications will come out from us. There will be, hopefully, all the research organizations, they interact with each other, they give their presentations, and they give comments on other presentations. We hope to find a lot of common grounds among us to proceed forward. We all know that we have a lot of interactions in the history, because the maritime trade was existing from time immemorial between these countries, and there are ships going, people going, and the cultures going, the religions going, and all these things we know. But with respect to fisheries, we need to make a start, because as I told in the beginning, the challenges are there and it will be there, and unless we do something about it, together we will have a lot of issues to deal with in the times to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very comprehensive overview, and even have laid out a clear path like what we would be doing the entire day together. And after this, we'll be having country presentations and then detailed group discussions. And before breaking into groups, ideally we should be knowing each other. I sincerely apologize, like I missed to have a slot like to introduce everyone. The secretary kindly permits. I guess we shall have a round of introduction so that we know each other like who has been here. So we can start with just quickly your name, application, and then after your come.
Good morning. I am Oscar Amarasinghe from Sri Lanka. I am emeritus professor of the University of University of South of Sri Lanka, and also the Chancellor of the Ocean University. And more than anything else, I am the President of the Sri Lanka Forum for Small Scale Fisheries, which I love very much. And we were involved in the implementation of SFF guidelines, and we were able to incorporate the most important guidelines into the national fisheries policy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Professor Jatindra Nath Swain, currently the chairman of the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, NARA, the research wing of the Ministry of Fisheries of Sri Lanka. And formerly, I was the Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya in Sri Lanka, and at present, I'm an emeritus professor. Thank you.
I am Sushant Kahawat, Director General, Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Sri Lanka.
Good morning. I am Dhammika Ranatunga, Director General Technical of the Ministry of Fisheries, Sri Lanka.
Good morning, all of you. I am Nama Kalangam, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Fisheries, Sri Lanka. I am Krishna Salim. I am currently chairing the aquaculture program at Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand. We are an international postgraduate university located in Thailand, and we have the aquaculture and also aquatic resource management programs offered to students from worldwide. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Priyan. I'm in for the faculty of Fisheries SSI.
Good morning. My name is Avisa. I come from the Fisheries Department. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Professor Newton from the Maritime Department, Malaya University, Myanmar. Nice to meet you. Good morning, my name is Ph.D. at the University, Myanmar.
Good morning. I'm from the Maldives. I work at Maldives Marine Research Institute as a senior researcher.
Good morning. My name is Mohammed Shaini. I'm currently an associate researcher at Virginia Tech US and the former Minister for Fisheries and Agriculture.
Good morning. My name is Shiham Adam, former Director General of the Maldives Marine Research Institute. Currently at International Pollen Line Foundation, where we work on small-scale fisheries, which we call one-by-one fish.
Good morning. I'm Uttara Zakaria from University Putra, Malaysia. Currently, I'm a head of departments of aquaculture. Research focus on aquaculture and also marine plants on citrus activity. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Siti Raihana. I'm the director for the Borneo Marine Research Institute. We are from Malaysia also, but yeah, in the East Coast. It's Malaysia, I mean, Sabah. So thank you very much.
Good morning. This is Honorable Mahbub Haq, Director General, Department of Fisheries, Bangladesh. And really, we are working with the management of our sea. Thank you.
Good
Research Institute under the Ministry of Fisheries. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Willem Plum from the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue.
Good morning. I am Ponea. I have served in 4 organizations: Central Marine Research Institute, National Bureau of Genetics, World Fish Center of Penang, and Central Institute, Director of Aquaculture. And I served as Director of both SIBA and
Good morning. I am Dr. Bhaskaran Manimathan, former Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu, Dr. J. Jayalalitha Fisheries University. Thank you.
Good morning, I am Vivekanandan, Fisheries Scientist.
Good morning to everyone. This is Ravi Shankar, the Vice Chancellor of the Central Institute of Fisheries Education in Mumbai. We offer a Master's and Ph.D. program in 11 disciplines in fisheries. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. G. Sukumar, Vice Chancellor of the Tamil Nadu Dr. J. Jayalalitha Fisheries University. Headquarters is at Nagapattinam, Tamil Nadu. We are offering Bachelor of Fisheries Science program, Master of Fisheries Science program in 13 disciplines, and PhD program in 13 disciplines. In addition, we have got 3 other faculties, under which also we offer about 8 programs. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Myself, George Nayan, presently the Director of Central Institute of Fisheries Technology under the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. We work on mainly the domain of harvest and post-harvest technology of fisheries. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I am A.K. Chaudhary, Director, Central Institute of Fisheries, Nautical Engineering Training, the only institution under the Department of Fisheries, where we have actually 3 different regular courses. One is of the Bachelor of Science with the nautical only subject. And we have got also 2 another subject under the VDET, that is the Vessel Navigator and Marine Fitter. We look forward from this session how the skills can be taken one step further. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I am Rudrendra Mukherjee, Policy Analyst at Bay of Bengal.
Hi, good morning, all. I'm Shri Jatindra Nath Swain from the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue. Hi, good morning to everybody. I'm Dr. Dara Silva, currently Executive Director of the Pathfinder Foundation. And I also serve as the Sri Lankan Ambassador towards the organization. The Pathfinder Foundation, which was established in 2008 under the leadership of His Excellency Milinda Boragada, who is currently the Sri Lankan High Commissioner in New Delhi. So this subject of Bay of Bengal is a particular interest to our organization, working with 30 global partners, and particularly the last BIMSTEC summit in Colombo, in collaboration with the Indian Foundation. We collaborated organizing discussion focused in many subjects. His Excellency is the Secretary. Thank you very much. Happy to join this discussion.
Good morning, one and all. Myself, Dr. Nimit Kumar from the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India. I contribute to the International Enterprise and UNESCO Category 2 Training Center, that is called International Training Center for Operational Oceanography.
Good morning, all. I'm Bipin from National Fisheries Development Board, Govt, India.
Good morning. I'm Professor Shivakumar Magadha, Dean of the first Fisheries College of the country. I also head the Aquatic Environment Management Department, where the department involved in coastal water monitoring for the last 35 years. The same knowledge can be extended to BOBP, coastal water monitoring.
Good morning, all. My name is Anthony Xavier. I'm the Fisheries Development Commissioner in the Government of India.
Good morning to all of you. Myself, Ashish Shukla. I am consultant with the Ministry of Fisheries in Mumbai.
Thank you so much. Just one additional information to Secretary and to the other members. To facilitate this cooperation among academic cooperation, research cooperation, actually in March, we had an understanding, and then now already BOBP has an MOU with the first 3 fisheries. Bangalore, PNG, and then Kochi. We have it. It was done in the of all the countries. And there is a framework that enables student exchange from the region. Like already the enabling provisions have been made in JNJFU, College of Fisheries, Bangalore, and Kufos. Like. So we have to again see mechanisms for activating it and then innovating areas for further operations. With this, thank you so much to each one of you, and then for having taken out time, and then thanks to our secretary, Dr. Balaji, Joint Secretary, then see Madam for taking out time and then joining us here. Thanks to Jena sir also like for here, and to our co-organizers, all the members who have been here like H.D. And very special thanks to Ambassador Tandon for joining us and staying back. Though you said like you have an urgent meeting to attend immediately after this, like, still thanks so much. Like you have stayed put for the whole. Thank you so much. Now we'll have a group photo here, and then nameplates will move. Then very good. Then this row. Any plan you manage here? You want to take a group photo? Yeah. But again, come back for the.